Hi friends, today I'm going to be dropping a somewhat modified video version of my review for Tom's Crossing, this baby here, which I have posted on Goodreads already, but you know, there's some stuff that you can't quite convey in just writing when it comes to expressing how you feel about a piece like this. Additionally, I had some other moments that happened today following the recording of that review. This is a prologue that I am recording later. Anyway, I finished recording that the meat of that interview piece about an hour and a half ago, and about an hour after that, I was leaving the gas station where I had stopped to grab some beer, Symphonic Chronic, Deschutes Brewery, if anybody's interested. But anyway, what I saw when I pulled in there was just so absolutely synchronistic with the content of the book that I had just read. I mean, I pulled up to the gas station, and as I pulled into the spot, I looked to my right, and there are two kids, Tom and Kaylin's age, the age of the boys in the book, and they are riding ponies. Like, I'll include a picture that I took of the ponies. Yeah, just wild to me that I finished recording this review only to be given this sight. It felt oddly spiritual. But with all that said, I'm gonna leave you guys with my review here. It is pretty lengthy, and I actually did trim down some of my some of the writing that I did for the written review that I posted on Goodreads, but you know, that was mostly to get rid of some of the circumstantial surroundings as to why, like, Mark and his work have been so important to me. So here it's mostly discussing the book itself, so enjoy. Thank you. One thing that has persisted throughout Mark's career post House of Leaves is a minority of fans that relegate his later works to the Hall of Gimmick. They grew frustrated with the typographical and formatting experimentation, viewing it to be the sad result of having nothing substantive to say following the success of House of Leaves. I will argue against such interpretations until the end of time, having spent a good deal of my own researching the minutiae making up the larger wholes of Mark's work out of the desire to comprehend it as fully as physically possible. Now, each stylistic choice subtly influences a reader's perception of a character's identity, whether that was the choice for Johnny Truant to say should've instead of should have, conveying his supposed lack of education, or the choice for Astaire, a character in The Familiar, to have her segments narrated with the use of many nesting parentheses in order to convey the constantly stacking and folding thoughts inherent in being a parent. Not to mention how fun it is to pun parenthetical. Regardless, some could not move past these specific storytelling choices for long enough to see how they informed the story, and so missed out on some of my favorite pieces of writing. Tom's Crossing, then, seems to be Mark's response to the sometimes implied, sometimes explicit question that those people have been asking for the last 20-something years. Is Mark all flash without his typographical tricks? Well, after being one of the lucky few to receive and consume a galley of Tom's Crossing in its entirety, I can confidently say that he is the real horseradish, as our new favorite vile patriarch, Old Porch, might say. You won't find but a minor coating of the usual MZD flair here. Formatting hijinks take a backseat to a more straightforward narrative, though we still get a bit of Mark's signature soul in the form of the choice to narrate the book in a sort of written dialectical fashion, with words like enough and ENOUGH replaced with enough ENUF, dropping the letter G from the ending of words, depending on the circumstance, and italicizing dialogue rather than putting it in quotations. Now, while at first this can be a bit of a shock for longtime MZD fans, I can confidently assure you that any concerns or misgivings are soon arrested in the first, 20 pages alone. It becomes apparent early on that not only does Mark still stand firm upon a foundation of linguistic mastery, but that to ever question that at all was foolish. Within these opening pages, we are treated to such evocative prose, conveying over the course of many pages a meeting that took maybe minutes of real-world time to play out. The titular Tom Gatestone chances upon a new lifelong friend, Kaylin March, and the two get to wagering on who can stand to ride the longest upon some nearby horses, them famously not being the most amiable of creatures. Now, Tom's observation of Kalen's uncharacteristic poise upon the backs of those horses may not occupy more than a couple of minutes, but as anybody that's seen an instant replay knows, sometimes the beauty or tragedy is found in the fractions of a second, no matter how unremarkable it seems at first glance. That is true not just for the memory of motion, but for the understanding of the world. At some turns betraying truths not readily apparent at first glance, but upon further scrutiny evoking fear, sadness, hope, anxiety, and yes, even love. Now, as Tom and Kalen bond, the two continue to visit those two horses called Navidad and Mouse. They would sneak them out from Paddock A, where they were kept by Old Porch, and ride them through the mountains nearby. Paddock B was reserved for those creatures that Old Porch saw fit to slaughter the next day, so a promise is soon shared between them. Should that detestable man ever move Navidad and Mouse to Paddock B, the two boys would take them to Tom's Crossing and set them free. What results is a tale that extends itself into the depths of hell while still standing tall, piercing the clouds and daring heaven. I found myself anxious, vulnerable, hopeful, excited, unsettled, tickled, and comforted at nearly every turn, often even audibly exclaiming from surprise, relief, hilarity, or contentment, and many times I just burst out crying. There's something intensely personal about the book that I won't go into too much detail here, but suffice to say, the names of two people that I love very much appear in the book, and it gives you a sort of calm and I guess a sense of closure in a way. But moving on from that, I digress. One thing that I must commend Mark on especially is his ability to somehow take moments that other authors may stumble over, and by some peculiar alchemy make them just as, if not more, compelling than what came before. Now, there were many moments throughout that left you hanging on to your last breath, only for the story to divest from the central narrative and spend some time building up seemingly tangential pieces of lore. The story is told like a recounting of a piece of local history, where many people that either studied or were affected by the events of those days are referenced in order to offer varying perspectives on the same event. There was one particular moment that shocked me, which shall remain unspoiled here, when a crucial event was followed then by about 90 pages of time spent on other characters and the repercussive emanations of the events thus far into the world. It's a testament to the sincerity of Mark's voice as an author that you can find in these moments that you're no longer so anxious about learning what happened next after only reading 3 or 4 more pages. Now, without spoiling anything, I can promise you all that Tom's Crossing is something special. It refuses to shy away from the ugliness of the world, but also refuses to accept any reality where love and mirth cannot also exist alongside it, finding humor in moments of terror and promising that the future need not be chained by the past. There are also plenty of Easter eggs for fans of Mark's other works, especially The Familiar, and I can't wait for my other Familiar friends to spot them. In many ways, Tom's Crossing now contends with House of Leaves as my favorite book, having found me with a kind word amidst uncertain weather and delivering some of the most memorable and impactful prose that I've ever had the pleasure of reading. Kudos, Mark. All that being said, I'll see y'all at the crossing. Also, I know it ain't Utah like the book, but isn't this just such a pretty place to read this book in? I mean, the mountains are kind of shrouded in cloud right now, but so were the mountains in the book.